right, here's how to not come across as creepy. Okay, listen, this takes a little self-awareness, but I'm gonna try to give some tips. Approaching someone that you're interested in can obviously be intimidating, but there are some basic principles that can help you come across in a positive way and not a creepy way. So first, it's essential that you tune in to people's like overall body language and their cues. So when you approach someone and you interrupt their conversation, that can come off as very intrusive, obviously. Look for someone who's standing, sort of their body's open. They're standing at the bar looking like they're open to someone approaching. They make eye contact, they're smiling. These are good signs that it may be okay to approach. This is going to increase your chance, at least, of having a positive response. Really be respectful of people's personal space. I know this can be very hard if you're drinking too much, but that's another conversation completely. So avoid invading people's personal space. Give them enough physical room to feel comfortable, and be responsive to their cues. If they seem disinterested, if they cross their arms, they turn away from you, they seem uncomfortable or disinterested, that's your cue to gracefully exit the conversation. That's a good way to avoid being creepy. Start with a non-invasive and friendly opening. Compliments can be appreciated if they're not overly personal or sexual and that they're respectful. You may compliment something about their style, rather than their physical appearance. Make sure that if you do get into conversation with someone that you are engaging in active listening. This is true no matter who you're talking to. Listening to what they say, ask open-ended questions. This, helps the conversation flow, demonstrates that you value what they have to say. That's good. And of course, if at any point they really indicate that they're not interested in continuing that conversation, hey, I'm gonna go have a drink with my friends now, whatever it may be, don't push. You need to accept their decision, accept what they're saying, and gracefully leave. That's one of the biggest factors in how you're gonna come across, is if you can pick up on their cues and respect them. So, being attentive, sensitive to their comfort level, this is generally gonna help you avoid coming off as creepy. Also, really paying attention to where you're approaching someone makes a big difference. If you're in line at the grocery store and you make a comment, oh, this line's taking forever, you can have a conversation about what's happening, and maybe they smile at you and continue the conversation. Maybe they just say something, turn their back, and they don't. But you're in an environment in that situation that makes sense to maybe say something, but if you are, if it's at night and it's dark out and a girl's exercising and it's just stopped for a breather, and then you go in for a conversation, she may feel threatened because of the environment, right? It's dark, she's alone, she just may not be receptive to talking to any strangers, right? If you are approaching someone, again, who's mid-conversation, they look like they're really in a conversation with someone else, that's not the time to approach someone, anyone, really, even romantic or not, right? That's not the time. And general, if you're at a social, if you're at a party, and if you're at a networking event, if you're at a bar and someone has good body language and is smiling, maybe they looked at you and made eye contact and smiled, that's a good sign. That may be an appropriate time to approach. But, if they're out at brunch with all their girlfriends and they're at a table eating, or if someone's working on their computer and they've got their headphones on, and they're at Starbucks and they're really working, that's probably not an appropriate time to make an approach. And you are making it, you're less likely to get a positive outcome, not impossible, but a lot less likely if you're approaching someone at a time when they seem like they're doing their own thing and they're busy and they're happy to do their own thing, right? But if they're in an environment where it is appropriate and maybe even expected to talk to people, that's a much better time. So really pay attention to if it makes sense. If you walk up to a girl and she's loading her car with groceries, back to the grocery store, and you walk up and you tell her how beautiful she is, that's probably not an appropriate time. A, she's not expecting it. She's probably not feeling receptive. B, she may be afraid you're gonna shove her in her car and steal her. And C, it feels out of the blue and overly physical in terms of the compliment. Hey, I noticed you inside. That just makes you feel like someone was following you, right? It's just not the time. So really start paying attention to what feels like a socially appropriate time to talk to someone. If they have to move their headphones and they're working out at the gym and they have headphones on and you have to say something to them randomly and they have to go, what? That was not the right time. If something has happened and you're standing next to someone waiting for a machine and they're standing there and someone trips and falls and farts and you laugh and they laugh, you may make eye contact and say something. That may be an appropriate time. You should also say something to the poor person who just fell and farted, of course. Be nice to them. But now you have something in the environment that creates a connection and it may be an appropriate time. But if she's lifting weights and listening to headphones and doing her own thing, that is not an appropriate time to boop, 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 interrupt her to talk to her, right? You really do need to have something in the environment that helps make that connection, or else it's much more likely to be an unwanted advance.